Welcome to AP Human Geography, Chapter 9, Key Issue 2. Why does development vary by gender? So, gender inequality measures. The United Nations hasn't found a single country where women are treated as well as men. The Gender Inequality Index, or GII. The higher the GII, the more inequality in a country. A score of 0 means men and women are equal. A score of 1 means it's very unequal. And factors that go into making this GII include empowerment, labor, and reproductive health. So we see areas where inequality is pretty high, and nowhere do you see it perfect. But you can see where it gets pretty uneven in Northern Africa, some countries in the Middle East. And, we ask maybe why is that occurring there? Some of that's infrastructure, a lot of it's based off of social norms and religious practices. United States is one of the better countries, but again, it's not 100%. It's not completely equal. Empowerment. This is one of the factors that goes into equality. Empowerment, the ability of women to achieve improvements in their own status, their economic and political power. Empowerment deals with the percentage of women in national legislature. How many of them are working in government? Although women vote more, no country has a higher number of women than men right now. So what we're saying is, you look at the government, how many women are there that have been voted into office or who are in control? And so far, we don't have an equal number. But you do have countries that are greater than others, who have more equality than others. So we're looking at the percentage of seats held by women in legislature. Obviously, the darker countries are the ones where you're seeing a lot more equality. Think about Australia. Interestingly enough, China, many Eastern European countries, Canada has even more than the United States. And we look at the percentage of women completing high school. In developing countries, many more boys than girls graduate. It makes sense when we're thinking about traditionally countries coming into development. Where do we see women graduating high school? Well, we're seeing that commonly, of course, in the United States. In multiple countries are up and coming, such as Brazil and Argentina in South America. You look at countries in Scandinavia, which have a really great record of education, and many say even better than the United States, such as Sweden, Norway, and Finland. They are having lots of women graduate secondary education. But again, you're not seeing it in sub-Saharan Africa and lots of portions of southern and southeastern Asia. And let's wait a moment while my screen loads, and I'll tell you a story. Oh, darn it, you don't get to hear my story. Okay, let's make sure we got the same page. Okay, the next thing dealing with empowerment is labor force. The female labor force participation rate. This is the percentage of women holding full-time jobs outside the home. It's 75% women, it's 75 women out of 100 men in developed countries, meaning we're getting a lot closer here. Sure, we're still short, but we're moving forward. 65 women to 100 men in developing countries, so we still have some more room to progress. Consider in Southwest Asia and North Africa, only the rates are going to be like 35 women out of 100 men are going to be employed. In sub-Saharan Africa, it's actually better because you've got 77 women out of 100 men, or in relation to 100 men working, because what's going on in sub-Saharan Africa is they're working in agriculture, and you need both parties to feed all the mouths that are required for all the high-level families that you got going on in sub-Saharan Africa. So again, Southwest Asia, North Africa, we're looking at not that many women being employed. And we ask the question, well, why is that? A lot of it has to do with infrastructure and education, but sometimes it's based off of religious preferences and social norms. In these countries, it's not common for the women to be going to school because it's mainly focused on just the men. Reproductive health. We look at the maternal mortality ratio. This is the number of women who die giving birth per 100,000. In developed countries, you'll see 15 women die out of 100,000. In developing, let me make sure I said that right. In developed countries, you'll see 15 women out of 100,000 that will die in giving birth. In developing countries, you've got a bigger number. 140 women die in childbirth as out of 100,000. So we look at which countries are doing better as far as equality. Well, the ones that are making sure that healthcare is going to their women and it's dropping the rate who are dying in childbirth. The adolescent fertility rate, this is the number of births per 1,000 women ages 15 to 19. So if you're an adolescent, you're considered between the ages of 15 and 19 for childbearing. Um, People tend not to want to see women these ages giving birth because the chances for success and job workforce and a healthy backdrop to take care of the child tends to be less and less. When you have adolescent fertility, a lot of the times it's because of inequality, where women are seen as people who are just supposed to give birth. So when you look at this perspective and you see it across the earth here, it really is one more factor that helps you understand the equality in a country. So in developed countries, you're seeing 20 women per 1,000 give birth in ages 15 to 19, as opposed to in developing countries, it's going to be a much larger number, 3 times as much, at 60 women between the ages of 15 and 19 are getting pregnant. In Europe, that number is only about 8, which is pretty low. In sub-Saharan Africa, of course, the number is huge. It's over 100 because we're not treating women equally. We're not having infrastructure or education about pregnancy. We're not using birth control methods. So this is a big, big factor at looking at equality. The gender inequality, the trends that go along with it. The United Nations has found that in nearly every country, inequality has gone down since the 1990s, which that's good, right? The greatest improvements have been made to Southwest Asia and in North Africa. Again, these are places that we've been talking about right here. We're seeing improvement in how women are treated as equals or not. In the United States, the gender inequality index has actually increased because of the maternal mortality rate and the low number of women in legislature. I'm just not getting it done today. I apologize. I can't talk. But I want to because you guys deserve a great video. So we look at the United States and we wonder, well, wait a minute, why has the GII increased? Well, the mortality rate has increased, meaning it's a few more women have been dying in childbirth because perhaps they don't have access to healthcare. Let's face it, we have outstanding healthcare in this country, but not everyone has access because they can't pay for it or they don't have insurance. The other portion of it is we've got a low number of women in legislature. It's a lot of men who are in government control here. So we still have a ways to go as far as being equal in this country. And that's a look at Chapter 9, Key Issue 2.